Hello, my name is Evan DeMarsh. I'm the executive editor at the Trends Journal. I want everyone to hit like, follow, and share below. We're trying to grow our channel. It's the end of the year. Also, please check out trendsjournal.com. That's trendsjournal.com. Today, I am with Professor Mohammed Marandi from the University of Tehran. Professor, thank you for joining the Trends Journal again.
Thank you for inviting me, Edmund. It's always a pleasure.
Are you and your friends in Tehran finished with your celebrations over Trump's FIFA World Peace Prize?
I think that people across the world are celebrating. It's not just Iran. I hear that people across countries are on the streets. They're still on the streets after all these days, still celebrating.
I want to get right into it, Professor. We had Lindsey Graham. He was interviewed yesterday by the Jerusalem Post. He was, I think, in Jerusalem, and he was asked about the two-state solution and Saudi Arabia's position on the matter. They've long said that there will be no normalization with Israel until there is a two-state solution. And Graham said that he does not believe that MBS, the leader of Saudi Arabia, would agree to anything less than a two-state solution, because he would be, this is his quote, this is Graham's quote, he would be killed. He goes, that's the truth. Professor Marandi, do you think that that's a true statement? And is Lindsey Graham right on this topic?
It's very difficult for me to agree with Lindsey Graham on any topic. So you're putting me in a very difficult situation. But
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
But yes, I think it's absolutely correct, especially after over 2 years of genocide. The mood across the region and beyond has changed dramatically. In your own country, the views towards the Israeli regime have changed in a way which I would have never thought would happen in my lifetime. And when you see such a dramatic shift in the United States with people like Candace Owens and other conservatives attacking the Israeli regime for its genocide, then I think it becomes clear what the situation is in our part of the world and how angry and outraged people across the region are. So countries that have done nothing for the Palestinians, like Turkey, like Saudi Arabia, like the Emirates, like Egypt, like Jordan, if they were to take a further step in favor of the Israeli regime under these circumstances, there would be outrage in these countries. So when Tucker Carlson is opening up about Palestine, for anyone in this region, any leader in this region, to move in the opposite direction and sacrifice the Palestinian people for the sake of bilateral ties, that would be the end of their regime. It doesn't matter which country it is. So I don't think that Saudi Arabia or anyone else can really move in that direction. This is, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that could have been possible under certain circumstances, but everything has changed now. Maybe there are leaders who want to have a deal with the Israeli regime and to just forget about the Palestinian people. But regardless of who they are and where they are, I think that such a move would be fatal.
When Lindsey Graham says such a comment, what do you think the motive is behind it? Do you think that's a comment directed towards the Israelis? It's like a realpolitik type comment saying, hey, listen, we're trying to work with you, but here's the reality. This isn't going to change. Or do you think it's more a message somehow to the Saudis? Like, can we move on from this? What do you think? I mean, there had to be some kind of a motive behind Graham's comment. Of course, you can't get into his head. What do you think it was?
Well, I didn't see the interview, but based on what you just told me, I think it's directed towards the Israeli regime. Um, Lindsey Graham supports this Holocaust that's been going on in Gaza. He supports the slaughter of the Lebanese, the Palestinians, children in Yemen, in Iran, anywhere. Whatever the Israeli regime does, he supports it. And therefore, it's basically, it can only mean that he's saying that, look, we can't push any further. I'm sure he would love to see Saudi Arabia give up on the Palestinian cause altogether. He'd love to see all countries in the region just sacrifice the Palestinian people and the Lebanese people and the Jordanian people and the Egyptian people. But that's apparently...
Don't forget Syria. Don't forget Syria.
Yeah, Syria. Well, Syria has been destroyed. But, that's a bridge too far. Syria is actually, the only success story for the Israeli regime. They've, after 15 years of, 14 years of dirty war, they succeeded in destroying the country and tearing up civil society and balkanizing Syria. And by putting Al-Qaeda and ISIS in charge, it's obvious what the intention was. It was to make all the minorities flee from the state and thus balkanize the country. And right now across Syria, organized crime is in charge. Different ISIS groups are in charge. Al-Qaeda groups in charge. There's no central authority. Jolani or Shara only governs the capital and some other regions in the country. So that's to a large degree a success story for the Israeli regime for now. In the long run, I think it is going to come back to haunt the Israeli regime and Erdogan and Qatar, but we'll have to wait for that. But in any case, anyone who sacrifices the entire Palestinian cause after what we saw in the last 2 years and a couple of months, they won't get away with it.
Is that part of the reason why we saw Tony Blair's name removed from the leadership role in the post-Gaza revitalization? Is that why the Arab countries are starting to maybe flex more muscle in these negotiations? Like, all right, this is a little extreme having Tony Blair doing this. Even we can't accept that. Is that one of the reasons?
Yes, but I also think that phase 2 of this fake peace plan was never intended to really take place. First of all, I'm sure you and your audience knows that the first phase had many details, and it was clear what was supposed to happen. Of course, the Israeli regime has not committed itself. It's constantly bombing Gaza. It's slaughtering people every day, and it's not allowing food and tents and building equipment and caravans to get in. These are all violations. So there is no ceasefire. But in any case, phase 1 is pretty clear what's supposed to happen. But when we get to phase 2 and phase 3, it's all very vague. And so I think when they were writing up the so-called peace proposal, they really didn't know how to get to phase 2. So it's all so those details don't exist. I don't see it moving forward, and I don't think that we're going to have any form of peace in Gaza. The Israeli regime wants to annex, wants to take the land. It wants to crush the Palestinian people. It continues to kill people every day, as I said earlier. It does not have an intention, or it does not have the intention of allowing women and children to survive in Gaza and to have normal lives.
Right now, Gaza's getting hit with rainstorms, and it's a terrible time for these people living in these tent shelters. It reminded me of a quote from Giora Island. He was he's a retired general in the IDF, and he once said, "This is before the war." I'm going to read his quote. It goes, "The international community warns us of a humanitarian disaster in Gaza and severe epidemics. We must not shy away from this, as difficult as that may be. After all, severe epidemics in the south of Gaza Strip will bring victory closer and reduce casualties among IDF soldiers." I think the article was titled that the IDF plans on using disease as a second phase of a genocide. Could that be happening right now? Could that be unfolding as we speak under these false pretenses of any kind of a ceasefire? Is like, because I'm thinking the ceasefire lines right up before the rainy season in Gaza. They don't have the humanitarian infrastructure that they need at all. Could that have been the plan? I mean, that sounds conspiratorial, but what's your take on disease as the next phase of a genocide?
It was always a part of the plan. I can't say that the fake ceasefire, its timing had anything to do with it. I think the fake ceasefire had more to do with the fact that people across the world were becoming outraged, especially after the images of starving kids were coming out. There was a shift, and people across Europe and the United States were getting increasingly angry. You saw the huge protests taking place. So there was a lot of momentum. And I think really the Trump regime and Zionists who support Netanyahu thought that a ceasefire would help to take away that momentum. And the intention of the Israeli regime was never to abide by the ceasefire. We've been seeing them killing Lebanese citizens almost every day since the ceasefire. And the guarantors, Western governments, they do nothing about it. Western media is silent. A while back, a family of 5 Lebanese Americans was attacked by the Israelis. 3 kids, 3 children were murdered. I think it was a family of 6. 3 kids were murdered, and the father was murdered too. The U.S. embassy did nothing. The U.S. government said nothing. Western media was indifferent. So when you see that in Lebanon, it's obvious that a ceasefire in Gaza is going to be the same. It was clear that the Israeli regime would continue killing people, and it would not abide by its commitments to allow aid to get in. And why is it not allowing aid to get in order to create this sort of environment during winter, just as it was the case last winter too. They are Zionists are celebrating the storm, and they're enjoying the fact that kids are dying of cold, and infants are suffering under these extreme circumstances.
If Israel came out, this is a season of miracles in the United States, you know, with the holiday season and everything. If Netanyahu woke up tomorrow and said, you know what, this was all so crazy, let's just go to the 1967 borders. We'll try to make good with all our neighbors. We're not going to try to expand. We're going to try to live in peace here. And Israel shows signs of making good on that promise. How do you think the Middle East would look? How would it change?
That's really impossible, because from the very beginning, when there was talk of the two-state solution, there was never any intention of having a two-state solution. And the West knew this, and the Israeli regime knew this. They were buying time for the regime. It was clear. In Iran, they were saying all along that the colonization of the West Bank is intentional, and it is being carried out in order to annex that territory. And I recall a few years ago, Alistair Crook, who I'm sure you know, he told me that he was sent by the then prime minister, I think, one of the prime ministers of the regime, to visit the West Bank. He was a negotiator for ceasefires between Palestinians and the Israelis. And he went and saw that the most fanatic of Zionists are in the West Bank. And he knew that they planted them there so that they would never leave. So the intention 20 years ago was not a two-state solution. That was never the intention, and it's not the intention today. Back when he went, I think there are like 100,000 settlers. Now I think there are 850,000 settlers, if I'm not mistaken. So and even if Netanyahu died tomorrow, and some other prime minister came, like de Klerk, let's say in South Africa, and recognized that this sinister regime is not sustainable, they'd kill him. He would not survive because a strong majority of these Zionists in Palestine support genocide, and they're against the mere existence of the Palestinian people. When a population supports genocide, when they support starvation, when they support the killing of kids, when they support right now the prevention of these kids having decent tents or for them to be able to go into caravans to survive, when they support the regime in preventing this from happening, then it doesn't matter who's in power. Nothing is going to change.
When the last time we spoke, I asked you what you think about the chances of a war between Israel and Iran breaking out again. Maybe we'll leave on this note. Has that changed at all in your view? Is it in the same levels? Are we closer? Are we farther? What's your take on the risks of another potential war between Iran and Israel at the moment?
Well, logically speaking, there shouldn't be a war because the Israeli armed forces lost last time round. They did not succeed. The last week of the war, or the last, let's say, 6 days of the war, were going very badly for them. And they were the ones seeking a ceasefire, not the Iranians. The Iranians were continuing to fight, and they were asking the Americans to find the solution. And the Americans sent messages to Iran, and the Iranians were in no hurry to stop fighting. And ultimately, after a few days, the Iranians agreed. So logically speaking, they're in no position to attack Iran and win because Iran is stronger today than before. It's seen the regime's capabilities. It's strengthening its offensive and defensive capabilities. So it would be worse if they attack now. But the issue is that Netanyahu is not really fighting for the people who the Zionists who live in Palestine. He's fighting for his own survival, and therefore he needs chaos. He needs war. He needs escalation. That's why this genocide's been going on for over 2 years, and that's why he attacked Lebanon, because he needed the escalation and the war and the genocide to remain in power. In my opinion, that's his top priority. And so while it would not end well for the Israeli regime, it may be something that he does to get away from judicial authorities. But then again, he could attack Lebanon. He could invade Lebanon or try to invade Lebanon. And of course, Iran will support Lebanon and the resistance. Iran will not allow him to succeed there. Or he may begin another assault on Gaza. Anything is possible as long as Netanyahu is in power. But all of this is a failure. The last 2 years has been a big failure for the regime. He and a lot of people in the Western media who support the Israelis keep saying that Israel had many successes. It's been one big failure. The world hates Zionism. The world hates ethno-supremacism. And that is because they've woken up to the truth. And because they saw over 2 years of slaughter and genocide and the suffering of infants and children. And that's never going to go away. So the harm that he's done to Zionism is irreversible.
when you said Iran supports Lebanon, would that be just through weapons, or if Israel did, let's say, a ground invasion and a significant attack on Beirut, would Iran ever get involved in that war, or just support it militarily through weapons?
Iran will make sure that the Israeli regime has no victory in Lebanon, and it will do it by any means necessary.
On that note, Professor, I appreciate you taking some time. I know you have a limited amount of time today. Thank you for joining the Trends Journal as always.
Thank you very much, and I hope you and your audience have a fantastic Christmas vacation and a Happy New Year, and I hope we all see better days ahead.
That's something we could all wish for. Thank you very much, Professor.